Wow. In my day job, I command over 7,000 staff dealing with some of the most difficult policing issues in London, and yet I'm nervous as hell standing here. It must be something to do with my uniform, really. But when I wear the other uniform, people say, "Are you carrying a gun or a radio?" Well, I've got neither of that. But just sitting there, I mean, it did bring back memories about my own university education. And I thought there were things I did, things I got away with, but most importantly, the huge amount of friends I actually made, and many of those are still friends today. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, academic staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are children here as well, fellow honoraries. I mean, it does genuinely give me a great pleasure, great privilege to accept this award from the University of Leicester. And as has been said, really, it is a world-class university that has fantastic reputation for not only academic teaching, but research as well. And as my fellow recipient, John, said, you know, that's a tribute to really everyone here in terms of what you've achieved. But to come here and be associated with the university during its 50th year of anniversary celebrations, that's particularly a real bonus over and above everything else. And I do truly congratulate every one of you. I spent some many happy years in Leicester. I very quickly realized what a great city it is. And two or three things struck me, because I've been around different cities and different police forces. The first thing was that what a great multicultural city this is. A city that values difference, that values individuality, that is tolerant and respects everything great about it. Secondly, the number of people who actually volunteer in the city to do things. And that itself creates fantastic vibrancy in the way the city operates itself. And thirdly, institutions like this university itself takes pride, takes a great part in city life. And when you put the totality of all that together, this is why Leicester is such a great place to be. Of course, there are challenges. Leicester has to embrace new communities and the richness that they actually bring. You often hear about stigmatization and stereotypes of those communities, but those communities, just as we did when we came from Uganda, have got a huge amount to offer. And I would hope that Leicester will continue to embrace those particular communities. In this short address, I just want to touch on one or two other things, if I may. I'm often asked about success, and I'm often asked about role models. To me, success has been a journey, and is not even yet a destination. Because everywhere I have been, I've tried to do better. Success is about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. And success is actually about keeping your feet on the ground, taking feedback, trying to learn from everything you can. But more importantly, where there is adversity, success is about professionalism. And a person's professionalism is really how they not only take success, but how they manage disappointment. And I've been privileged enough in my 32 years of policing to work with some extraordinary people who are leaders in communities, who are brave, who are courageous. And even as we sit here, there are many people, my colleagues, who are out there helping to make our communities and our neighborhoods safer. In terms of role models, well, I've been a policeman. I've been a frontline police officer for most of my service. But I've come to realize why role models, and particularly role models from minority communities at the highest level of our institutions, public institutions, that are important. Because they provide a sense of relative symbolism in the heart of the state's public institutions. Role models give a sense of encouragement to those who want to succeed. Communities feel they have a voice at the heart of public policy making and delivery. They give a sense of feeling to the communities that their unique needs and expectations would be taken into consideration when policy is formulated. And actually, they help in the most vulnerable communities to neutralize dysfunctional role models in terms of some of the power bases they actually build. I genuinely hope every one of you would strive to be a really positive and a great role model in whatever field you actually take on in the future. And from my perspective, I just finally want to leave you with a quote that seems to kind of underpin the philosophy that I have adopted. And it comes from a guy called Steve Jobs of Apple Computers, who said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." And since this is a celebration, can I just finish off with a very short story? I'm often asked, how do you contribute to diversity? And I tell them a story that when I was an inspector, I was the only minority inspector and I had a staff of about 40. And they attended an incident where a number of Punjabi families had started fighting into the street, shut the roads completely. The police went there. The officers were able to, the men were fighting on one side, women were fighting on their side. Men went and separated the men, my officers, but they didn't know what to do with the women. So the inspector turned up. I asked the van driver, the police van driver, to open the doors, and I shouted to the women in Punjabi, and I would speak that if I wanted to. And I said to them, "You've got about a minute to go back into your houses, otherwise I'm going to throw you in the back of this van." And these women suddenly stopped, looked at me, and went, "My God," they were gone. My officer said, "What the hell did you do?" I said, "Well, that's the reason why I'm an inspector and you're all constables." Can I wish the university all the best and wish you every success in the future. Thank you so much for having me.